The cabin fell silent, every eye frozen on the aisle. A black CEO, dignified, respected, a man who had built his empire from nothing, had just been slapped across the face by a flight attendant mid-flight. His glasses tilted, his papers scattered, and for a split second, the entire aircraft seemed to hang in shock. What could drive someone to such a humiliating act? And why, in the next 10 minutes, would the entire airline find itself on the edge of collapse? Welcome, story lovers. From where are you watching? Comment your city. Marcus Hall was no ordinary passenger. At 42, he had built one of the fastest-growing tech companies in the country and earned the respect of leaders across industries. His life was defined by boardrooms, strategy sessions, and late nights spent turning bold ideas into reality. That morning, he boarded a first-class flight from New York to Los Angeles. Another routine trip, another chance to prepare for an important meeting. The cabin lights glowed softly as the engines hummed, and for Marcus, it was supposed to be a quiet few hours in the sky. He adjusted his seat, pulled out his notes, and glanced at the clouds stretching endlessly outside the window. But beneath the calm, there lingered an unease he couldn't quite name. Something about the way eyes lingered on him felt different. What Marcus didn't know was that this flight would test more than his patience. It would test his dignity. The first sign came with a whisper. A passenger 2 rows behind leaned closer to another, muttering just loud enough for Marcus to hear. "People like him don't belong here." He ignored it, tightening his grip on his pen, determined not to let casual ignorance spoil his flight. But the second sign was harder to dismiss. The flight attendant, brisk and tight-lipped, skipped Marcus when offering drinks, circling back only after every other passenger had been served. When Marcus politely asked for water, she rolled her eyes, scribbling something on her notepad before slamming the cup onto his tray. The murmurs grew bolder. Someone snickered as Marcus adjusted his tie. Another pretended to cough a slur under their breath. He tried to focus on his notes, but the walls of the cabin felt like they were closing in. His skin prickled with the weight of every stare. Then came the confrontation. The flight attendant returned, this time demanding Marcus move his carry-on, though it sat neatly in the overhead bin like everyone else's. Her voice was sharp, loud enough to draw attention. "Rules are rules," she snapped, pointing at him as if he were a child caught misbehaving. The other passengers watched, their expressions a mix of curiosity and disdain. Marcus remained calm, his voice steady, refusing to yield to humiliation. But calm wasn't enough. The tension in the cabin had reached a breaking point, and it was about to explode. It happened in a blur. Marcus stood, reaching calmly to adjust his briefcase, when the flight attendant's hand lashed out. The sound of the slap cracked through the cabin, echoing louder than the engines themselves. His head snapped sideways, his glasses slipping down his nose. Gasps filled the air, some shocked, others disturbingly amused. A man who had risen from nothing, who had built jobs and opportunities for thousands, reduced to a spectacle in seconds. Marcus didn't shout. He didn't raise a hand. He simply stood there, eyes burning with a mix of pain and defiance. Phones rose in the air, passengers recording. In that instant, the incident was no longer just between Marcus and one woman. It had become a symbol, one that would ignite outrage across the world. Dear audience, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to give it a like. It really helps. The flight landed in Los Angeles, but the storm had already begun mid-air. Videos spread like wildfire, shared across social media before the plane's wheels even touched the ground. Headlines erupted, "Black CEO assaulted on flight, airline faces backlash." Within hours, stock prices plummeted, executives scrambled, and the airline issued a hollow apology that only fueled public anger. For Marcus, the bruise on his face faded, but the wound in his dignity ran deep. Still, he refused to stay silent. He stood before cameras, not as a victim, but as a voice for countless others who endured silent humiliations daily. The question remains, how many more times must dignity be stripped before real change takes flight? Thanks for watching. Subscribe to our channel for more powerful stories and new videos.